Hi, I'm Krebs, and this is my story of faith. When I go to share my story of faith, I find it quite hard. I grew up in a Christian family, and it feels pretty cliche to kind of talk about that and kind of think about, I didn't really have any like these big traumatic life experiences or anything. But actually, what I want to show by sharing this is that God has saved me, and that's beautiful. Growing up with parents who were really committed to church, my earliest memories are running through a church, just always involved, and kind of went through things, kind of decided when I got to year 6 that I was ready for next level Christianity. My dad could speak in tongues, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I want to speak in tongues. And so I prayed about it, kind of nothing happened. I was a bit like, oh, okay, whatever. Prayed about it some more, still nothing happened. I got to the point where I made a bargain with God. I had this tree outside my window, and I said, God, if you make this tree burst into flames in the next 3 days, just like with Moses, then I will know you're real. And so I waited 3 days and nothing happened. And I was like, okay, well, I guess there's not really a God. And that wasn't really a conscious decision. It kind of just felt like that's what happened, and just grew into this apathy for quite a few years. I was like, well, God doesn't want to answer my prayers. He doesn't love me. Why should I even bother following him or believing him? I still had to go to youth groups, still had to go to church. It's kind of what my parents expected. But I was only going for the food, the friends, and the fun. I even remember telling my parents I didn't want to be Christian anymore, and they said, you can't do that. So I was really stuck in this group of people, all because of this event of him not answering me by giving the ability to kind of speak in tongues. So I thought that's what it meant to be Christian. When I got to about year 11, year 12, we had this new guy come lead the crew group at school, and we were a bit wary of him. And so as the year 12s, we kind of decided to step up and start running things. And I don't think I was like that Christian at the time. I think I would call myself a Christian, but definitely didn't love Jesus and didn't love following his ways. But stepping up made me start considering the Bible, and I'd say that's the point where my heart started being softened, started being ready for the Spirit to enter in. And I ended up going to Kick that year in year 12. No one from my town was going, and so I ended up going with some friends from a place at Cowra, an hour and a half away. And I was just with this group of about 60 youth kids, knew like one of them. I was just there on the Friday night at this conference called Kick, singing away, and I just started crying. I was like, this is weird. 18 years old, not very emotional person at that point, as most 18-year-old boys aren't, but just there crying. I was like, this is weird. And the next night, the same thing happened. Was there, I started crying again in the middle of the song. And I didn't think there was anything in the song particular. I don't even remember what song it was, but I just knew in that moment that there was a God and he loved me. And I kind of explained it as like, yeah, I cried twice and I knew there was a God. But I don't think it was that kind of rational decision making. I kind of just knew in my heart that there was a God and he loved me. And in that moment, all the kind of wanting to have certain spiritual gifts or be a certain thing kind of just washed away, because I knew there was a God and he loved me. And so kind of what that meant is that when I went back to school, I wanted to really live that out. I really wanted to be someone who prayed for my friends, who kind of talked to them about Jesus, who was more intentional with the way we did crew. It was really hard because I was kind of known as the Christian kid. So how do you be Christian while being the Christian kid? Ended up moving to Sydney the year after to study, and that was just a real formative time of learning how do I be a Christian outside of my school, outside of my family. And what I've just really realized is that God is just so faithful to us. I realized actually God was working in there. There's things that are going on in there that wouldn't have happened now if God kind of wasn't working in and through my family, and I wouldn't be the person I am today without God walking through there. And there's this bit in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 where Paul is talking about who he is as a person of faith. And I really like it because I think it's really relevant to the way I think about myself as a Christian. He says, "For I am the least of the apostles, and do not even deserve to be called an apostle because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am." By the grace of God, I am what I am. And this is Paul, the guy who killed Christians for a living, saying, by grace I am what I am. He's not trying to deny his past. He's not trying to say that doesn't mean anything to me. No, he says, I'm only that person by the grace of God. And so to me, that's an incredible comfort of saying, no matter my past mistakes, no matter pushing God away for all those years, no matter what I do now, I'm only that person by grace. And now I'm a person who knows and loves Jesus and wants to serve him by the grace of God. And by the grace of God, God has used those experiences to bring me to where I am today. I think that's just really encouraging and really beautiful, that God isn't limited by our brokenness. God isn't limited by our apathy or pushing him away, but he is working through that for his glory by his grace.